In this video, we are going to put together the event handlers for all those different service calls that we stubbed out in the last video. So basically, we are going to start off with opening up our in-memory account service, and I want to update my update profile and update avatar methods. Basically, I want to, in addition to processing the request and submitting the response back into the event bus so the UI can update, I also want to go about invoking that or dispatching the user updated event. So what that'll mean is, like I said in the last video, the other components in the application will have a chance to update themselves based on the user changing. So to do that, I'm going to remove this last line right here. I'm not going to say post delayed response. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that. I'm going to mark my response object and my request object as final in the parameter list and as that local variable so that we can access it in the closure that I'm about to write. Then here down at the bottom, I'm going to say invoke delayed new runnable. And down here for the parameters, I'll pass in, I guess, 200 or 2,000 and 3,000 for 2 to 3 seconds about. Then I'm going to go ahead and get the user. So I'm going to say user equals application.getAuth.getUser. Then I'm going to say user.setDisplayName to request.displayName, user set email to request.email. And then I'm going to go ahead and say bus.post, passing in my response, and then I'm also going to say bus.post new user details updated event, passing in the user. So that'll give like our sidebar, for example, the notification that the user's changed. So basically, I'm just kind of going into my update profile method and making it a little bit, just a little bit more powerful for testing. I'm going to basically give the same treatment to my update avatar method. So I'm going to say invoke delayed new runnable, and then for our timing, I'm going to put like 4 seconds to 5 seconds for our timing, just because I figure uploading an image you would think it would take a little bit more time to process that request. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to alias add a reference to my user class, or my user object rather. So application get auth get user, and here I'm going to say user.setAvatarURL to request.newAvatarURI.toString. Now you'll notice that by doing that, when I was following through all the autocomplete dialogues, a final keyword appeared up here on my parameter, and that's so that I can access this variable from within my closure. Now that I've done that, I can go ahead and say bus.post, and I'm going to start off by posting a change avatar response. Then I'm going to post my user details updated event. So then we'll pass in user for that parameter. All right, so that's all I'm going to do there for the update avatar and update profile. Next up, let's go ahead and implement our login methods. Now, all of our login methods and our register methods are going to result in updating the user. That's going to result in setting values on the user, saying that it's logged in, giving it an auth token, which is going to be passing into the auth service, and as well as invoking a change avatar, or sorry, a user details updated event, as well as firing off the last request. So basically what I'm saying is all of these events we're about to write are going to do this sort of stuff right here, but then in addition, they're also going to do a bunch of other stuff, and all that other stuff is going to be the same, so I'm going to condense it all into its own method. So at the bottom here, I'm going to say private void login user. So this method I'm writing here is going to be used in all of our login methods. So all of our fake login methods will use this method. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say user, or I'll start off with auth equals application get auth, user equals auth get user. And so I want to think like, so in this fake mock service layer that just does everything in memory for testing purposes, what parameters do I want to pass into the user when we log in? So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say user.setDisplayName. We can go ahead and say setDisplayName to Nelson LeKay. We can do user.setUsername to, and you guys can type in whatever you want here. It doesn't really matter. So set the username to that. User set email to, I just want to give all of these things valid values. And then user set avatar URL. Here I'm just going to use a gravatar. And so for that URL, I'm going to use, go ahead and let's do http :// and I'm going to do www.gravatar.com avatar /1 question mark d equals identicon. So this is just a default Identicon generated Gravatar image. If you want to, you are free to go ahead and replace this with anything you want. There are websites you can go to get placeholder image URLs of different things like kittens, or you could use your own Gravatar URL, or you could host it yourself. So that's what we're going to do there. Then after we do that, we'll go ahead and say user. And we have some other things to set. We need to say set logged in to true to indicate the user has been logged in. And that's pretty much it. So now that the user has been modified, let's go ahead and do bus.post new user details updated event user to tell the rest of the application that the user has been updated. And then let's go ahead and set our auth token. So I'm going to say auth.set auth token, and I'm going to say fake auth token. Because in this particular application, we are not going to validate auth tokens because we are not we're not hitting the real web server yet. So as a result, the auth tokens are just kind of fake strings that we're going to consider to always be valid. All right, so that's the code that I want to have executed every time we log in. So now let's just go down the list of all the different events, all the different requests that we need to handle. So I'm going to go ahead and say subscribe public void. Let's go ahead and say login with username, and we'll say account.login with username request. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say invoke delayed new runnable, and then I'll pass in for its timing, I'll pass in 1 to 2 seconds, or maybe 1 to 2 seconds, sure. And then we'll go ahead and say login user, the first thing, and then we'll say bus.post new login with username response. And it's important that we invoke the login user method first so that our auth token has been set before we respond in a positive way with our login. Oh, well, of course, we do have one thing here. We do need to go ahead and populate this request with the data that we just set on our user. So what we can do here is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of bring this out a little bit, and I'm going to create a local variable of it called response, and I'm going to pass it into my login user method. And then on my login user method, I'm going to add a parameter for user response, and then all the way at the bottom, I'm going to say user response, and we're going to say display name equals user get display name, and we're going to say response dot username equals user get username, and response dot email. Almost forgot to do this. That would have been bad. Get email, and response dot avatar URLs user get avatar URL. Response dot, and I think that's about it, except for his ID, which we do need to go ahead and set our ID on our user as well, even though we won't be really using that anywhere. And I'll go ahead and I'll finally say response.authToken equals auth.getAuthToken. And of course, up here, I want to say, instead of 1, 2, 3, I want to say user.getID, and then I want to say user.setID, then 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, this way, our actual response will contain all of our user information as well. All right, so that's our login with username, and we have just the rest of these events to do. So I'm going to say subscribe, and we're going to say public void login with external token, and we're going to say account.login with external token request, and it's going to be pretty much the exact same code. Invoke delayed new runnable. We'll do 1 to 2 seconds, and we'll do account.login with external token. Or response. Response equals new login with external token response, and we'll say login user response, and we'll say bus post response. So that's how it's going to be for all of these, and So yeah, I guess let's just go ahead and just type some more. We need our register. Actually, our register, we have our normal register, so we'll do normal register account.register request, and then we'll say invoke delayed new runnable, and we'll say account.register response equals new register response. And we'll say login user response and bus post response. And now we'll go ahead and have to implement or pass in our timing. And then we'll subscribe public void register or external register account.external register. So register with external token response or request invoke delayed. And of course, you guys can check out the source code to this, so you don't have to type in this all. Register response equals new register response, and we'll say login user response and bus post response, and then we'll pass in 1,000, 2,000. Okay, so that handles all of our logging in and registration. So we have login with username, except for our login with local token. So I'm going to say subscribe public void login with local token account.login with local token request, and then invoke delayed new runnable account.login with local token response equals new login with local token response. Login user response plus post response, and pass in our 1,000 and 2,000. All right, so yeah, that pretty much wraps up the implementation of our in-memory service. And I know it looks super repetitive, probably could have cut down the code a little bit, but anyway, you guys can definitely check out the Git repository to get that implementation. So yeah, I think that just about wraps this video up, and we'll see you guys in the next one.